Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vajrakacharya, Ashtottara Shishimati Stilangre, Shilayasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. So Maharaj was supposed to give the class, but he missed the flight in Istanbul, so he will come in the morning, and then tomorrow he will give. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Special welcome to Andreas. So you know that we study every morning Srimad Bhagavatam, and today we continue with verse 23. Shuddhaya Shantaya Namah Svanishtaya.
Shuddhaya Shantaya Namah Svanishtaya.
Shuddhaya Shantaya Namah Svanishtaya.
Shuddhaya Shantaya Namah Svanishtaya.
Manasya Parittam Vilasatvaya.
Manasya Parittam Vilasatvaya.
Manasya Parittam Vilasatvaya.
Manasya Parittam Vilasatvaya.
Namo Jagatstana Layodayeshu.
Namo Jagatstana Layodayeshu.
Namo Jagatstana Layodayeshu.
Namo Jagatstana Layodayeshu.
Grihita Maya Guna Vigrahaya.
Grihita Maya Guna Vigrahaya.
Grihita Maya Guna Vigrahaya.
Grihita Maya Guna Vigrahaya.
Shuddhaya Shantaya Namah Svanishtaya.
Shuddhaya Shantaya Namah Svanishtaya.
Manasya Parittam Vilasatvaya.
Manasya Parittam Vilasatvaya.
Namo Jagatstana Layodayeshu.
Namo Jagatstana Layodayeshu.
Grihita Maya Guna Vigrahaya.
Grihita Maya Guna Vigrahaya.
Let's chant.
Shuddhaya Shantaya Namah Svanishtaya.
Shuddhaya Shantaya Namah Svanishtaya.
Manasya Partham Vilasadvaya.
Manasya Partham Vilasadvaya.
Namo Jagatstana Layodayeshu.
Namo Jagatstana Layodayeshu.
Grihita Maya Guna Vigrahaya.
Grihita Maya Guna Vigrahaya. Shuddhaya Shantaya Namah Svanishtaya.
Shuddhaya Shantaya Namah Svanishtaya.
Manasya Partham Vilasadvaya.
Manasya Partham Vilasadvaya.
Namo Jagatstana Layodayeshu.
Namo Jagatstana Layodayeshu.
Grihita Maya Guna Vigrahaya.
Grihita Maya Guna Vigrahaya. Shuddhaya Shantaya Namah Svanishtaya.
Shuddhaya Shantaya Namah Svanishtaya.
Manasya Partham Vilasadvaya.
Manasya Partham Vilasadvaya.
Namo Jagatstana Layodayeshu.
Namo Jagatstana Layodayeshu.
Grihita Maya Guna Vigrahaya.
Grihita Maya Guna Vigrahaya.
Shuddhaya,
Shuddhaya,
unto the unadulterated.
unto the unadulterated.
Shantaya,
Shantaya,
unto the most peaceful.
unto the most peaceful.
Namaha,
Namaha,
we offer our obeisances.
we offer our obeisances.
Swanishtaya,
Swanishtaya,
by being situated in one's position.
by being situated in one's position.
Manasi,
Manasi,
in the mind.
in the mind.
Aparitam,
Aparitam,
without any meaning.
without any meaning.
Vilasat,
Vilasat,
appearing.
appearing.
Dvayaya,
Vayaya,
in whom the dual world.
in whom the dual world.
Namaha,
Namaha,
obeisances.
obeisances.
Jagat,
Jagat,
of the cosmic manifestation.
of the cosmic manifestation.
Sthana,
Sarana,
maintenance.
maintenance.
Laya,
Laya,
annihilation.
annihilation.
Udayeshu,
Udayeshu,
and for creation.
and for creation.
Grihita,
Grihita,
accepted.
accepted.
Maya,
Maya,
material.
material.
Guna,
Guna,
of the modes of nature.
of the modes of nature.
Vigrahaya,
Vigrahaya,
the forms.
of forms.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Dear Lord, we beg to offer our obeisances unto you. When the mind is fixed upon you, the world of duality, although a place for material enjoyment, appears meaningless. Your transcendental form is full of transcendental bliss. We therefore offer our respects unto you. Your appearances as Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva are meant for the purpose of creating, maintaining, and annihilating this cosmic manifestation. Purport. A pure devotee whose mind is always engaged in the service of the Lord can certainly appreciate the impermanence of this material world. Although such a devotee may be engaged in executing material activities, this stage is called anasakti. As explained by Srila Rupa Goswami, anasaktasya vishayan yatartam upayunjataha. The devotee is always unattached to material activities because, in a liberated stage, his mind is always fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. This material world is called Dvaita, the world of duality. A devotee knows very well that everything within this material world is but a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's energy. To maintain the three modes of material nature, the Supreme Lord takes on different forms as Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva. Unaffected by the modes of material nature, the Lord takes on different forms to create, maintain, and annihilate this cosmic manifestation. The conclusion is that although the pure devotee appears to engage in material activities in the service of the Lord, he knows very well that material enjoyment for sense gratification has no use whatsoever. Umagyanathimirantasya Dhananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Ruta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarupescha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarin
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Dear Lord, we beg to offer our obeisances unto you. When the mind is fixed upon you, the world of duality, although a place for material enjoyment, appears meaningless. Your transcendental form is full of transcendental bliss. We therefore offer our respects unto you. Your appearances as Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva are meant for the purpose of creating, maintaining and annihilating this cosmic manifestation. Hare Krishna. So now today Maharaj is coming. He's actually a very scholarly devotee, you know him. So if he would be sitting here, he will be able to present something very nice. And now we're trying to do something. And here the prachetas, they are praying to the Lord. And in this particular verse, something very important comes out, which we find also in our scriptures, again and again. It speaks about the temporary nature of this world. And in the Bhagavad Gita there is one very nice verse, which is kind of the verse itself is very Upanishadic. You know, in the Upanishads they have some verses which are very, in the beginning it's kind of difficult to understand, because the Upanishads, they use very few and simple words, and but with these few and simple words they bring out a lot of depth, a lot of deep understanding. And we know the Gita is called the Gita Upanishad because actually Krishna, he's quoting often from the Upanishads. You find these same verses in a sometimes a little bit different form in different Upanishads. That's why it's called Gita Upanishad. Because Krishna is God, but he's appearing as a common human being. He's playing the role of a human being. So how is it possible that when he plays that role, when he speaks, it's called Upanishad? It's because he's quoting Upanishad. So this verse is Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubayora vidrishantas tvanayos tattvadarshibhihi. And especially the first two lines, they're very interesting. It says Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha. So they change. He changes these two words. And did you hear of this word Sat? You know what it means?
It's this Satchit, and I don't know which it stands for. Peace? Or
Sat stands for eternity. Something which is everlasting. And then Asat, whenever you put an A in front of a word, then it becomes the opposite, or it negates the word which is following. So Sat means eternal, and Asat means not eternal, means temporary. And then Bhava, that's the second word used here. What means Bhava? Emotions. It can also mean something else here in that context. Bhava means there's another word which Aham sarvasya prabhavo bhavo, aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam prakriti mata bhajanti mam buddha bhava samam. There also you find this word aham sarvasya prabhavo. You remember what it means? I am the Do you remember that verse in Bhagavad Gita? It's Chaturshloki, the first one. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Krishna saying, I am the origin of everything which exists. So bhava also means something that exists. And abhava means the opposite, something which doesn't exist. So what does he say here? Nasato vidyate bhavo. This which is not nasato. So this which is temporary doesn't have any existence actually. It's non-existent in one way. It's our bodies, they are non-existent in a way. Now they maybe appear to be existent, but we know maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago they have not been existing, and in a few years down they will not be existing. That's why they're not really real. And then the second line says Nabhavo vidyate sataha. That which doesn't have any change, that is sataha, that is eternal. So something which doesn't change, we can understand to be eternal. For example, the soul. And that's what it is spoken about in this verse, how we are constantly in this world of change, duality. And the Prachetas, they say, the only way how to become free of this is by focusing on Krishna. And why is this so? And how is it even possible that we experience this illusion, that we become so attracted to something which is not really existent? Like we are so attached to our body and we take it as the absolute reality. How does it work? Srila Prabhupada, he explains this in the Bhagavad Gita in the 15th chapter. Does anybody remember what in the 15th chapter is described in Bhagavad Gita? Come on. You remember? No? In the 15th chapter, Krishna speaks about the banyan tree. He says that in the material world there is a banyan tree, and this banyan tree, it doesn't stand on its trunk, on its roots, but it's upside down. And then he explains that actually we also have this experience of such a tree when we go to a lake. When you stand at the lake, then you see a tree, and you also see the reflection in the water, just the other way around. And then Prabhupada explains in the purport what is actually meant by this banyan tree. I will read to you. Now there is no ready experience in this world of a tree situated with its branches down and its root upwards. But there is such a thing. That tree can be found beside a reservoir of water. We can see that the trees on the bank reflect upon the water with their branches down and roots up. In other words, the tree of this material world is only a reflection of the real tree of the spiritual world. So every child understands that the tree which I can see in the water is not real. I will not, if I see the apple hanging on the tree, I will not try to catch the apple reflected in the water. Because I know it's an illusion, it's not there, it's just appearing to be there. But if I actually want a tree, I will take the apple on the real tree. But then how is it actually possible that we see this kind of reflection in this world? And Srila Prabhupada explains further. This reflection of the spiritual world is situated on, so the reflection of the tree at the lake is situated on water. What is the reflection of the spiritual world situated on in this world? Do you have any ideas what it could be? What's the substance?
Gunas?
The gunas? Mm-hmm. This reflection of the spiritual world is situated on desire. So you have to kind of imagine that desire is like the surface of the water, and the spiritual world reflects on that surface. It's a little bit difficult in the beginning to understand, but what is meant by this, I just read and then we can maybe try to explain it a bit. So this reflection of the spiritual world is situated on desire, just as a tree's reflection is situated on water. Desire is the cause of things being situated in this reflected material light. How does it work? Of course, unfortunately, we don't see the real tree at the moment. We don't see the spiritual world, but because we are spirit souls, we have a inert understanding that there is this kind of tree. And this tree, again, it's just symbolically, it means a world which is full of variety like we see here. A world where living entities live in the presence of the Supreme Lord and have loving exchanges. And they live in a very, very peaceful, blissful environment, Satchidananda environment. So that is the real tree. And now, because I kind of internally I know that this tree exists, even though not consciously, I have a desire which I project into this world of matter. And then this desire by this desire, this reflection becomes possible. So for example, in the spiritual world, we have loving relationships. And because that is it's actually real, my desire will look for that in this world. I want to have a relationship. But the problem is that there it's real, but here it becomes unreal because I project my desire on material people. I project my desire on bodies made out of matter. And that's actually something to reflect on, how if this desire is not there, then immediately this illusion will be gone. But the problem is this desire cannot be switched off. Meaning, let's stick with this desire of relationship. I cannot, because I see that my relationship with Suri, I mean Suri is a devotee, but maybe I see him in the light of his material body. When I come to understand that actually I put so much hope in my relationship with Suri, but I see that he's not really, I'm not satisfied completely. Then I could conclude, okay, maybe I should give up this desire for relationship completely. But because there is a real tree and we belong to that, we are always searching for that fruit. We know, we are always hankering for the taste. So that's not the solution, to say no relationships. And here it is said by the Prachetas how it is possible to actually overcome that attachment to material happiness. It is by focusing on Krishna. Or in other words, if I have a relationship with the Lord and all his devotees, all his parts and parcels on a spiritual platform, then this illusion will be gone. We can hear in our scriptures sometimes some very advanced devotees, there is one example, how is his name? The boy who died and came back to life. Harsha-shoka.
Chitraketu's son.
Yeah, Harsha-shoka.
Chitraketu's son, so this story is very...
Harsha means happiness and shoka suffering.
Yes, yeah, Harsha-shoka. His pastime is Chitraketu, he was a king, and kings usually are very anxious to get a son, because they have a responsibility to hand over responsibilities to a son, because they have to take care of the whole world, and he couldn't get a son. So he was, I don't know all the details, but he was praying, and he was, I think, performing sacrifices, austerities, in order to get the blessing for a son. And eventually he had many wives, but one wife, she got a son, but there was this blessing and curse at the same time, that he will be the cause of your happiness and also of your distress. And what happened when this one wife got a son, all the other wives, they got very envious, because the king, naturally, now he felt more attracted to this one wife, because she was the mother of his son, which was very important to him. And when the other wives saw that, they became so envious that they killed the child. So they killed the child, and then the king was so distressed, and of course the mother as well. And how did they bring the child back to life?
Agastya Muni and Narada Muni come to him.
Yes.
And they start to preach him, and then they ask him to wake up, this Harsha Shoka.
Yes.
And he starts to preach.
Yeah. So then they woke him up, this son, and then the son came to life, and that's what I wanted to say. The son was completely on the transcendental platform. He could see that you're saying I'm your son, but actually I had so many mothers, I had so many fathers in my existence in this world. So you are not my mother, you are not my father. And that's the symptom of a self-realized soul, that okay, now I have a wife, a husband, a mother, a father, a child, but actually this is all an illusion in a way. And that doesn't mean that we don't we don't fulfill our role, our duty. That doesn't mean that if I'm a mother, I just say, you know what, I'm not your mother, take care of yourself. That's not the idea. But the idea is that internally we understand this is like a drama we are playing here. Sometimes you're there, sometimes you're there, sometimes you're the father, sometimes you're the child, and the roles change. Sometimes you're the husband, sometimes you're the wife, the roles change. It's always going like this. And that's why Srila Prabhupada, he said, this material world is a nonsensical stage performance. Meaning, we are all so absorbed in our roles, and we forget that actually we are playing a play. And if you see people running around, including ourselves, we're always so absorbed in our roles. And now what is the philosophical point when they say that by focusing on Krishna, this illusion is completely gone? For this we have to understand what is the middle point between the reality and the illusion. There is like when you have a reflection, there is a middle point from where things get reflected. And this philosophically is very crucial to understand, because that becomes the cause of the reflection. And this is called ahankar. Ahankar is where the whole reflection becomes possible. Did you hear of that word? Ahankar is a very nice word, like many Sanskrit words. It means aham, I, kar, do. And it's a term which should express the illusion of I think I'm the doer in this world, but actually I'm not. I'm just a small soul sitting in the body which drives around in the car. Meaning I'm not the car, but I'm the driver. But I think I'm the car. So this is ahankar. And this ahankar is the cause of this illusion we are in. I think I'm the body, I think I'm the mind. And then a whole set of reactions come, that a whole entanglement in our actions, in our thoughts, in our emotions, we get entangled. And that's why this ahankar is also called as a knot. It actually ties you down to this material world. And in the scriptures it is said, this knot has to be cut. And Srila Prabhupada, he says here how it should be done. One who wants to get out of this material existence must know this tree thoroughly through analytical study. Then he can cut off his relationship with it. So we need to study, we need to understand, okay, this is just my material body, this is just illusion, we have to understand. But the real point is mentioned in this verse. By seeing the Lord, Jai Jagannath Baladev Samadha Shri Govinda, by seeing Krishna, we immediately understand who we actually are and who we are not, meaning the illusion of who we think we are gets away. And there is a nice verse also in the scriptures which describes this. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andhakara, that Krishna is like the sun and our identity with this material body, with this material world, is like the darkness. So if we identify with this body, it's like we are in the dark room. But if we look at Krishna, then he's like the sun coming into that dark room, enlightening everything, and we are all of a sudden we see things clearly, we understand, that's who I am. And before we were maybe thinking that's me, but now we understand, oh no, that's not me, I'm actually the servant of Krishna. And our process is that when we do this really sincerely, we will actually realize our eternal identity. So now we have an identity as Damodar Prasad Dasa, which is also in a way eternal, but there is also a lot of material conceptions around, and Bhakti Johanna Suri. And this is temporary, it exists for a few years. But in the scriptures it is said that there is an identity within us covered, which is eternal. So you and me and all of us, we have an eternal form, name, voice, activity in the spiritual world. We have an eternal relationship with the Lord, but we have forgotten. And that's why Srila Prabhupada mentions it's a nonsensical stage performance, because it's like, imagine you go to a drama and you see the actors, they forget that they are acting and they say, no, this is my life here. Prabhu, the drama is over, you can come down. No, what are you saying? This is me, I'm the king. And Srila Prabhupada, he explains in some lectures how one example or one experience we have is actually what we are experiencing now, and this is a dream. Sometimes we are dreaming, often we are dreaming, and Prabhupada says in the dream we might come and see a tiger, and we get very, anxious and we run away and we are full. And then in another dream we are a king. I'm enjoying, I'm very powerful, everybody's worshipping me. And Prabhupada says, but both are just dreams. Even one dream is nice, another dream is very painful. If we wake up, we understand it was just a dream. And he makes the point that actually our life here is in the same way a dream. But it's a gross dream. There it's only subtle. But when we are here, it's a gross dream, meaning reality. But when we wake up, when we become self-realized, we come to the same conclusion, like, my God, this is all, I was thinking this would make me happy. I have a lot of money, I have a nice relationship, I have a good job, I have many friends, and I was thinking that this would make me unhappy. If I don't have money, I'm ugly, I don't have any friends. But now I understand, this is all an illusion. This doesn't make me unhappy and this doesn't make me happy. It's meaningless. And so this is the point. that the only way how to become free from the illusion, as mentioned by the Prachetas, is by focusing on Krishna. And we do that in our process by listening about Him, what we are doing now, by chanting His name, by worshipping Him, by doing service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And in this way we are slowly shifting our consciousness from the temporary to the eternal, to the spiritual. And then, when we come to that stage, the last point, which is mentioned in this purport, we can live in this world and we can act in this world, but we will not be affected. What Prabhupada quotes, Anasaktasya Vishayam Yathartam Upayunjataha, meaning if this knot of false ego is cut, then I can do anything. I can do whatever I liked, but it doesn't matter. It will not entangle me. And the pure devotees, they are very active in this world. They do so many things, but they are never on the material platform. They are completely aloof. And that's why we often use this example of the lotus flower, because the lotus flower, we say, hey, Shri Guru Charana Padma, the spiritual master's lotus feet. Because the spiritual master is always like the lotus above the impurities. He's growing, like the lotus is growing out of the water. The spiritual master, the pure devotee, and also Krishna, they are always, even though they are in this world, even the lotus flower is in this water, it's actually aloof. It's not touched by the filthy water. And that's our goal. And then we can be happy. Okay, so I would like to end here. And Suri came to serve Maharaj. Yeah, you will be serving Maharaj. So nice that you're here. And yeah, take full opportunity of listening to him. He's a very powerful preacher, self-realized soul, who has renounced this world completely. And yeah, we're fortunate. He was staying with us so long, three weeks. And if you want to do any service for Maharaj, you can ask Suri. So that's actually the secret of success, to please the self-realized souls, the pure devotees. And then they will bless us. Hare Krishna. If you have any comments or questions? Yes?
I have a question. You know, like once there's a statement from Kadamba Kanana Maharaj where he says like that, for example, that sex desires, there will be always there. The only thing is like that you want, even if you become like sannyasi, whatever, it is still there, these desires, but you're just convinced that these desires are not going to make you happy.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes you heard devotees saying like, oh, I'm contaminated. I have, now I have this desire, and it seems like that as long we have a material body, that we have certain desire, or how you see that this contaminated desire, or yeah.
Yeah, actually Srila Prabhupada mentions that. He even says in the spiritual world, well, it's a little different point, but he says that they are so attractive, and he says, you know, there is the spiritual world is the reality. We have to understand. So it's not that the reality is less. Things which are in the spiritual world don't exist here. So if sex life exists here, it exists there. And Prabhupada speaks about this, but he says it's a completely different thing. But he makes the point that the devotees, even though the women they are very beautiful and the men are very nice men, and they're naturally you see that, you know, they see that, they can perceive that this person is very nice. But then he makes the point that because Krishna is so attractive and they are always absorbed in thoughts, how can I serve him, how can I please him, there is no room for that tendency. And the same thing, let's say a devotee in this world, especially there's devotees who have sex life. You know, otherwise how can a pure devotee procreate children? So, and he knows what it means, as like a pure devotee knows how a nice sabji tastes. No, we are not Mayavadis. When we eat a paneer sabji, we know it's nice, but we know it's coming from Krishna. That's Krishna consciousness. It's not that we don't eat the sabji, but we understand. So the pure devotee, when it comes to sex life, he knows what it means, this pleasure of sex life. But then the pure devotee can renounce it, even though he knows the dynamics behind sex life. He knows, okay, sex life is pleasurable because that's what happens. He's so much absorbed in his service and he can feel Krishna and he's so happy, and that's another level that he can perceive that, but it's insignificant. It's incomparable what the devotee experiences on the platform of Krishna consciousness. So in this way, then the pure devotee, they have, you know, if they are, let's say Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had sex, but he never had it for his own sense gratification, he had it to procreate children. But then the sannyasi, he doesn't do it because that's not his service and he's not attached to it. He would just... Yeah, so, but we have to come to this platform where we understand actually this body is not so nice. Yeah, I don't know if it... Yes?
I just have a commentary, but because there is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, but I want to try to tell it in German.
Yes.
English is too hard. It's die bedingte Seele kann zwar von Sinnengenuss zurückgehalten werden, der Geschmack für solche Dinge bleibt.
Genau. Ja.
Wenn sie aber einen höheren Geschmack erfährt, ist sie im Bewusstsein gefestigt. So irgendwie.
Ja. Das ist genau der Vers, welches das beschreibt. So, was du gesagt hast, wortwörtlich, der Geschmack bleibt.
Ja.
Der Geschmack, ich verstehe den Geschmack von einem guten Paneer Sabji. I understand the taste of a nice Paneer Sabji. But I'm not attached, because I'm relishing my relationship with Krishna. And in the same way I understand what kind of taste comes from sex life, but I'm in my relationship with Krishna. Why should I go there? This is much nicer. Is it clear? Thank you. Yes.
I just had some thoughts on this. Like in chapter 7, text 11 of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, where Krishna himself admits that his sex life, which is within regulated principles. So our philosophy is not a philosophy of suppression, or like Prabhupada says, we are not a philosophy of neti, neti, not this, not that. And Prabhupada always emphasized on this principle of dovetail. And yesterday I was listening to a lecture of His Holiness and Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj, where he was saying how that's why this whole ashram system is important. Because when you are in the brahmacharya ashram, you get trained. And at one point when you realize that you cannot continue, then you change the ashram. Because you're getting purified in every ashram. That's the whole point. That's why it's called ashram, because you get purified. It gives you shelter for purification. And then you enter into Grihastha ashram, and then you further get purified, and then you go into vanaprastha. So basically even material desires of not just sex life but possession and these kind of material desires which we always condemn, which may also be a part of a grihastha life, like having material possessions, being attached to family, etc. But the whole point is through grihastha ashram you get purified, and then at one point you realize that this is just so futile, and you get detached, and then you go to vanaprastha, where you then perform austerities and really learn, deepen your detachment, and then you can renounce fully, which is the stage of sannyas. So at the same time, I do feel that devotees, because we cannot, in the sense that as devotees we should also monitor our desires. It's not alright to have a lot of sex desire. We are not a movement which says that it's okay to, because it would be like the Sahajiyas. And we understand, we introspect, and we understand that these desires are not the best and it needs purification. We don't have to beat ourselves over it. We have to understand that it's there, but also in a Krishna conscious way approach how we can purify ourselves. So, yeah.
I mean, they will be always there until we die, right? Desires.
Just had one example, sorry, my Guru Maharaj gave me this example. He said that, like when there's a lamp, like a ghee lamp, when you light a ghee lamp, it's very soft, in the beginning. And then with time it becomes very strong. And then when it's about to go out, it again becomes very soft, right, the fire flame. And then he explained to me like this, that when you are a child, you don't really have sex desire, isn't it? I mean, if you put two, I don't know nowadays, but if you put 4 or 5-year-olds together, there is no sex desire, actually. So similarly, in the lamp, when the flame is soft, that's our childhood. We don't have sex desire. But with time, this flame becomes big, because then our identification with the body becomes very strong. That's why our sex desire increases. And then again, when we reach towards old age, naturally it happens that the sex desire becomes, and this is of course when you lead a proper cultured life. And now of course there is no point of cultured life. That's why even 70-year-old people have such strong sex desire. But if you lead a strong cultured life, then that's the natural outcome, like the lamp. The flame is very strong, very soft, then it becomes strong in the youth, and then again towards old age it becomes very soft again. So if you lead a cultured life, which is at least traditional, then it naturally happens that your sex desire or sex life does fade away towards the end of life, and you can give up your body. Why? Because your identification with the body also becomes lesser with time. But of course that's not happening now, and then we have to ask what's wrong with our culture now. So it's not like we will always have the desire. If we really lead a cultured life, not just saying Krishna conscious, even in the outside world there are cultured people, Not just devotees are not cultured people, there are even cultured people outside. And if you observe their life, towards the time of death, they don't have such strong desire, sex desire. So
it's a nice example with the flame, yeah. But as you said, Prabhupada also gives this example in Paris. I think he saw old men going to nightclubs, meaning it's not naturally happening, and you have to engage properly in the thing. So it's a nice point for us, if we see we have especially sex desire, we should take shelter of these ashrams properly. And it's a sacrifice. But if we do it, that was mentioned in the previous verse, the cause for bondage becomes the cause for liberation. That's so nice. The same thing which is binding you, if you do it properly, it will actually free you from bondage. But we have to do it in the proper way, meaning take the whole full package. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Can we please make sure that we do a kirtan when Maharaj arrives? He's probably arriving around 10:45 or 11, something like this. okay, we can all be here. I will text you in the WhatsApp group,
Yes.
and then we can do this. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki
Jai.
Irgendjemand muss einen Check-up geben, eine Chivisierung.
Ja, wir müssen schnell schauen.
Which is the switch for the volume? The red one which goes up and
For?
the volume.
Yeah, you have to put it up. It's, I can show you.
Jai, Jai.
Ja, über den Vers haben wir auch vom Papa gesprochen.
Ja. Das ist gut.
Der ist gut, ja.
Kannst du im Gang kommen, oder?
Ja, ich glaube, ich muss, ja. Also,
Ja.
es gibt nichts anderes.
Ich habe schon
Ah,
Fahrrad,
vielleicht
ich habe
ich
keinen
frage.
Führerschein.
Ich frage.
Ich habe keinen Führerschein, aber ich habe Fahrrad. Also Auto.
Du hast keinen Führerschein.
Nein, noch nicht, aber ich mache glaube ich in die Monate, aber ja.
Ich frage mal einen anderen, der Dina noch.
Soll ich mitgehen?
Ja, das wäre gut.
Ja.
Du kannst mir dann anrufen.
Okay.